Love Hijab says, what's the one piece of advice you can give to anyone interested in taking up teaching, which you wish you had known before? That's a really good question. I think one piece of advice in general, if you're thinking about teaching, is go into a local school and ask them if you can spend some time volunteering and actually spending time in the classroom, because that's the only way you'll be able to see if you can picture yourself in that career. Often we think back to our own childhood experiences of being in the school, and it's actually pretty different to how it's like when you're an adult. Specifically about my teaching year, I would say when it comes to collecting evidence, because you will have to collect a lot of it and it will be frequent, okay, I would say have an iPad or something around with you at all times so you can take pictures of evidence. So collect evidence as you go along. Do not wait for the end to try and think, okay, what piece will match this standard, what piece will match that standard. Literally collect things as you go along. I think collecting evidence when you're teacher training is really difficult because you honestly often don't know what you're looking for, what would come under good evidence or, outstanding evidence. But the best thing to do as soon as you start is actually researching examples of good evidence. It's that simple, just Googling it, and you will get PDFs come up with really good examples, and then you can kind of think, okay, have I been able to share that in some way? And as long as you're collecting the evidence as you're going along and writing up a few sentences about why it's significant to you and your practice, that's going to help you hugely. Farah asks, did you pay for your tuition or did you get a loan? I got a loan. There's no way I could afford £9,000, unfortunately, and it was another loan on top of my degree loan, but I knew that that's what I wanted to do, so that's kind of how I justified it. What can you do? Which route did you take? I already answered that. Best tips for people who are super nervous about the QTS tests, especially if you loathe maths. Again, like I said, don't overthink it. You have 100% got this. You can't become a teacher unless you've got a GCSE in maths, and nothing in the QTS test is even half as hard as what comes up in GCSE maths. So don't stress about it. Just practice, keep calm, and just think, you know what, I've got this, it's fine, it's just a test. Don't overthink it. That's the biggest thing. I think it's a psychological thing when we think about, oh my gosh, a maths test, and it brings all those feelings, especially if you hated maths. I hated maths at school. I have to be honest, I hated maths at school. I found it really difficult. I didn't have the confidence at all. And now, obviously, I do have more confidence because I'm teaching maths on a daily basis. And it is 100% a confidence thing. It's a mind game thing. So just think, I can do this, and you've got this. Farah also asks, how much experience is enough experience? Most teaching schools will expect at least 3 weeks of recent classroom experience. At least 3 weeks. Personally, if you can, I would suggest going in for an afternoon a week, every week for as long as you can. Not only will you really start to build bonds with the school and the children in the class, but actually you will fully get a hands-on experience on what it's like. And I think that's really important because training to teach is not cheap. It's £9,000, and there is one route which is called the salaried route, but it's very, very difficult to get. You have to basically be a TA in the school, and they have to fund you for it, and you have to be a TA for a couple of years with a degree, and that's just something I wasn't prepared to do. I didn't want to go down that route of being a TA and then hoping that a school would end up funding me. I just wanted to, sink my teeth in and become a teacher as soon as I could. So it's an expensive investment. It's not cheap, and it's kind of ridiculous that we have to pay as much as a regular year at uni because the country has a huge shortage of teachers. So it's you'd think they would reduce the amount that we have to pay, at least give us half price off, but no, it's still a very expensive amount. And I think the saddest thing is that the statistic of how many teachers drop out in the first 5 years. I think it's just such a huge rate. I don't want to. I'll put the figure here somewhere, but it's a very large amount of teachers who are dropping out because they're just finding it too stressful. They're finding the workload too much. Getting that work-life balance, it's really difficult to have that as a full-time teacher. 100%, it's difficult, and I think if you're thinking about going into a career that you know, because everyone's saying it, including me, that you know it's going to be challenging, you know it's going to take up a lot of your time and energy, you must be sure that that's really what you want to do, because you don't want to sit there a year later and 9 grand more in debt and regret that decision. So in terms of how much experience is enough, basically you have to have enough experience to the extent where you feel like, yeah, teaching is for me. I could go into teaching, I can see myself doing this every day, and I want to do this every day. That's when you have enough experience. And if it reaches a point where you actually think, you know what, it's a huge investment, it's a very tiring job, a very demanding job, I actually don't really want that kind of job, I want more of a work-life balance, and you decide that that's not for you, that's totally fine too. And it's much better to realise that earlier on than to realise that when you've started your training year, which gets really, really, really tough. How do you actually get experience or get the most out of it? So in terms of getting experience, I would recommend emailing your local schools and, explaining the situation. I'm a graduate, or I'm at university at the moment, I'm thinking about teaching. Some schools have a really strict policy where they won't allow anyone to come and volunteer, but I think most schools honestly would appreciate it. So yeah, just ask around basically, and if you have any contacts, that makes things easier. Like if you know anyone who works in a school, that will probably make life a bit easier, but just ask around, ask people what they think. She also asks what to leave out of the teaching CV/personal statement and what to put in. I think I actually found the writing of the personal statement more challenging than the QTS test, because I feel like that's the part where they read it and they think, right, should we give this person a shot at being a teacher or not? But actually, I just think you need to write from the heart, and your first draft, you should literally just write why you want to teach, and you will find like cheesy, corny moments come up, and you'll maybe cringe a little bit as you're like writing it out and think, really, am I really saying this right now? But it's a really good exercise psychologically for you to do anyway, because it kind of helps you to understand like why you're going into this route, and that's really important to reevaluate and reassess that as you're starting this journey. I think it's really important to show that you're a personable human being, that you have experiences that have helped shape you in school, and that you understand the importance of education for all children, and that you want to make a difference. And they also want to know any experience that you've had working with children. That's really, really important. I worked as a tutor for 4 years, whilst I was, or the last year of sixth form and 3 years of uni, I was also tutoring for a company called Explore Learning. And I really love having that as my job, because obviously it was a little bit of money for me to then end up blogging and exploring the world of makeup and everything, but also it was still doing what I love doing, which is working with children. So that really helped me in terms of my personal CV for my teaching CV, because it showed the amount of experience I'd had, and I could back it up with the fact that I can teach and I can build relationships, and I've been here for 4 years, so the earlier you can start, the better. The last thing she said was, also, may Allah make you a great teacher and make your experience rewarding. Ameen. Jazakallah khair. That's very, very sweet. And the final question is, how did you find or still find time to manage everything? And that's from a really lovely blogger. She's actually doing a degree at the moment to be a teacher. She's doing a whole degree, which is amazing, so she's putting so much time and energy into becoming a teacher. But she's also got a fantastic blog, and she takes the most gorgeous flat lays, so you should totally follow her. Side note. So yeah, how do you find or still find the time to manage everything? That's a really, really good question, actually. I feel like my work-life balance in my training year was awful. And now that I think back on it as a teacher, I'm just like, what was I even doing that took up so much time? But it was genuinely like preparing for those observations and just learning so much. When you're training to be a teacher, you're sitting in so many different courses, and you're being spoken to by so many different people. Every single week, you're taking so much on, and you're taking so much in, so much information in, and then you're also having the experience of being in school. And I genuinely think it's the best way to become a teacher, because it's such a hands-on way. However, it's also exhausting, and it is tough. It's really, really tough. So I don't feel like I managed to master that work-life balance at all, really. And also, you don't get paid to train to be a teacher. you get a small, well, when I did it last year, you got a small grant. It was fine, it was okay to help me get by kind of with my car and whatever, but I'm really lucky, alhamdulillah, my parents helped me out a lot with that anyway, and I live at home, so I don't really have expenses, but the people who were on my course who were parents and who were before earning and then gave up their job for a year, I just think that was amazing that they did that, because it's hard to live on minimal funds. And I'm actually genuinely finding my NQT year less stressful than the training year, which I didn't really expect to say. Everyone says the first 2 years of a teaching journey are the most difficult, and I really thought that my first half term as the NQT would just be so challenging, but alhamdulillah, it really has not been, and I will touch more on that in obviously my next video, which will be all about that. I think as long as you've got a really great team around you in your training year, and what I'm talking about there is your mentor is someone who's very approachable and someone who is honest with you and treats you like you should be treated, and you've also got a supportive TA like I did, you'll be absolutely fine. I feel really spoiled for saying this again, but I had the best experience at my home school and actually at my crossfaith school. So both the schools that I trained in, I had such a great experience. Both my mentors were so lovely, so supportive. My main mentor, who was my mentor for most of the year, she's just the calmest person ever. And I think I panic a lot, but I don't necessarily show that I'm panicking, but just her presence and her handling everything like an absolute boss just helped me to be you know what, it's fine, I've got this, it's cool, it's all going smoothly, they're learning well, I'm doing the right thing, I'm on track. And I feel like we really gelled really well together. And then again, like I said, I've already mentioned her before, but my TA, hands down best TA ever. And that was a huge support, honestly, it was a massive support. And then the teacher next door to me, she was fantastic as well. That wasn't her NQT, it was a year after, so she'd had 2 years of experience, and because she trained quite recently, she could give me a lot of support on that as well. So like I said, the school that I was put in was fantastic, and I really miss that school a lot. And the head teacher as well there was amazing too. One of those head teachers where the door's always open, you can come in, have a chat, and no issue is too small for her. And that's the kind of school that you want to be working in. Alhamdulillah, the school that I've got a job in now is fantastic as well. The support that I have in my team is amazing. I've got some really experienced teachers on my team, the Year 6 team, and I feel very blessed that so far my journey has gone smoothly. I've spoken to other trainees who in their year they've had mentors who have not been as supportive and who have not maybe been even as willing to give advice or give time up for them, and that must have been really tough. I feel like if I had a mentor like that, I probably would have seriously considered dropping out, because you need that support. You need the support of people around you to just keep your head above the water kind of thing. So those people who had that kind of experience, they did so well to continue and get through the whole year, because it's a tough year. I can hand on my heart say that the training year is probably the most difficult year I will ever have career-wise. Do I regret it? Absolutely not, because I am so blessed to say that I'm in a job that I absolutely love. Are there challenging moments? Of course. And are there days where I just get home and I'm physically, mentally, and every single other way shattered? 100%. But I wouldn't change that for the world at the moment, because I'm really enjoying it. But like I said, I don't have many responsibilities, and I don't really know how I would do it if I did have those other responsibilities in my life, to be honest. I don't even know if I answered the question, but how do you find time to manage everything? So this year, I basically said that Saturdays are my no school day. I don't think about school at all. I don't touch the books I brought home. I don't touch any marking or anything at all. That's it. Saturdays, even my days to be at home and sort out everything that's going on around me, like my room and stuff, and do some cooking. Or it's my day to catch up with friends, and I try and alternate it. Making that time and setting that time is really important, and that's actually something that my mentor said to me and my TA said to me from my previous school when I trained, and also when I finished training I did 3 weeks of supply teaching, which I've also done a post about. And the teacher who I worked with closely there, she said that in your NQT year you need to set aside one of the days on the weekend for yourself, because the other day will naturally be spent preparing for the next week ahead, making sure you've got everything, taking things off your to-do list. You do have to spend, or at least half a day, at least minimum half a day on the weekend working as a teacher. That's just the way it is. Yeah, and she also said try and have Wednesday, which is normally the NQT day, as a day where you like meet up for a coffee with a friend, or go out for dinner with a friend, or just put your feet up and basically go home and don't think about school. And I've been finding that more tricky, because I've been finding that in the week I'm very, very, very busy. But I set that rule that Saturday is my day to do what I want to do or what I need to do, but I cannot think about school on Saturday. And I feel like that's what's been really helping me to manage everything, because then I've actually set aside time to blog or to record videos on YouTube, or to especially to meet up with my friends and catch up and see how they're getting on in their lives and in their careers, because I do sometimes feel like I'm married to my job, and I'm loving this like sort of honeymoon period, but I know that as the months go on, there's going to be times where I'm just like, I will be absolutely exhausted, because there's a lot that is expected upon teachers, whether you're an NQT or whether you're an experienced teacher. There's just a lot. But alhamdulillah, I have to say that I'm quite a positive person, but also I do ask for help a lot. And I feel like I learnt the hard way from my A-levels, even into uni. I just find it really difficult to ask for help until right at the last minute, when I let it escalate. And this year I'm not doing that at all. And again, like I said, I'm really, really lucky that the head of year is just so fantastic. She's so supportive, and she's literally like right next door to my classroom. So I still don't really know if I've answered the question, but Perry, basically you have to make time to manage. You have to set aside time and say, no, I'm not going to do any work. And I think one of the most frustrating things, but something that you have to learn really early on, you just pick it up, is that your to-do list as a teacher is going to continue growing, and you will be taking things off, but then more things will appear, and you will be taking those off, and then more things will appear. So yes, you just have to keep going, and you will get there, basically. You will get there. But I'll talk more about my experience of the NQT side of things in my next video, because this is already getting to be very, very long. I'm just going to quickly head on to Snapchat. Zorbia says, how draining is the Pgce? Actually, I've heard so much about how much work it is. Tell me something good. I'm doing it next year, hopefully. Zorbia, it's draining, it's exhausting. I think personally, what I found as well was that when you do have like a little bit of off time, you have no money to do anything. And yes, you can go out and go for a walk or whatever, but it's nice to also have an income. And I do honestly believe that would make the whole experience a little bit easier. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I've got bills to pay, I've got rent to pay. No, alhamdulillah, I haven't. But it's just nice to have your extra income, a little bit of extra income for yourself. And because I had spent 4 years quite used to having a monthly income, it was quite hard to then have no income, have no like free time to myself, always feel behind, always feel like I've got so much to do. And there are definitely times where you're just like, why am I doing this? But you have to keep thinking about the end goal of, okay, this is really hard right now, but nothing lasts forever. And at the end of this, I'm going to have my own classroom, I'm going to have my own class, I'm going to have my own rules, I'm going to have my own community in my classroom, my own ethos, and I promise you, it is so worth it. So if you can hang in there and like get through the really tough year, because it is a tough year, you'll be rewarded with, like, honestly, one of the best careers in the world. I'm glad I shared a snap, because I've got a question from Sabina, and she says, what's the first steps in finding a course for doing a PGCE? I've actually explained that already in a blog post, so I'll link that one down below for you. Are there different routes you can take? Yes, there are different routes. You don't have to do a PGCE route as well. There's quite a few different routes, and the best website to go on for that is getintoteaching.com. It's a really, really useful website. It's very easy to navigate, and they explain all the routes really clearly. If you're someone who enjoys university learning more, then you can look into that route. If you want a more hands-on experience like I did with the school-based route, look into that. And then there's other routes as well, so definitely explore the different routes. She also asked, Can previous degrees be helpful when applying for a PGCE course? Definitely, for sure. If you're doing secondary, I'm pretty sure you have to have a degree in that subject, or you have to have higher qualifications in that subject. For primary, you don't necessarily have to have a degree at all in that subject. I know people who have got a marketing degree and then have wanted to become a teacher. You just have to use the experience that you gained on that degree, and since that degree as well, since graduating, to tailor your sort of personal statement and explain how that's shaped you as a person and how it could help you with teaching. My degree was actually developmental and educational psychology, so obviously it was very related to education and to the way people think and behave and feel, so that definitely helped me. But yeah, you can pretty much have a degree in almost anything, Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, and go down the PGCE route. There's not many restrictions there at all, well, for primary anyway. And yeah, that's the end of my video. I hope that I've managed to answer any questions that you guys had. Thanks so much for watching. Like the video if you did, and make sure you subscribe and leave any comments below. See you later.